Okay, so for Miss Rose math class, this is what your homework was for this evening. Just move those papers out of the way. And we were multiplying a whole number by decimals and whole numbers. Let me kind of reduce that. Okay, so this one was already done, and we were looking at where you would put that decimal. And we were saying that you were going to think about it. It's moving it out 2 times, so we're going to have this. If you can see over here, it's 2 decimal places, and so I have 2 decimal places. This is going to be 0 decimal places. I'm just going to put DP. And if I add that up, it's only going to move it back in 2 decimal places. And so they've already given you the product, and you're just going to see. So I'm going to move it 1, 2, and it goes right here. On number 2, I'm moving it out 1 decimal place. And this, I'm going to put a note that DP will represent decimal place. There's 0 here. I'll add that up. So in my product, I'm going to move it only over 1 decimal spot. And that's right there. Number 3, I'm moving it out 2 decimal places. For the 5, there's none. I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm going to have a total of 2 decimal spots or places. So I'm going to start it right here next to my ones place, and it's 1, 2 that I move over, and it's right there. There you go. Sorry about that. Now you can see that. All right, let's look at number 4. We need to find the product. Here we're going to be multiplying it. I need to think of it as being, I'm moving it out twice. I'm going to put 2 DP. I'm going to think of it as being 519 times 3. 3 times 9, and I'll just hide this right here so it'll look easier, equals 27. And you can just mark it there for your first one. 3 times 10 equals 30. And 3 times 15, or 3 times 500 is 1,500. So you can do it this way using partial products. That is 7, 2, 8, and 1. And so the total then becomes 1827, and I'm moving it over 2 spots. So it's 1827. Actually, that's not correct, because look at what I did. It's 3 times 30, and I put 300, and that is actually 30. I had to look at that quickly because it's like, that is not right at all. So if you're not careful, you can make those careless mistakes. And I would call that as a careless mistake for a in the computation. So then now it's going to be 1557. Big difference. Okay, so let's go on. I'm going to move this one at 1 decimal place. Okay, so this one here, we're going to think of it as being 72 times 8. And I'm just going to do the standard multiplication or standard form. So you can continue doing it this way if that's easiest for you. I'm going to think of it as 8 times 2 equals 16. Regroup my 1. 8 times 7 is 56 plus 1 equals 57. I'm going to move my decimal back into my product 1 time, so the answer is 57 and 6/10. Next one, number 6. I'm going to move this out twice, so it's going to be 2 decimal places. I'm going to think about it as being 3,746 times 7. 7 times 6 equals 42. Regroup my 4. 7 times 4, or 40. Okay, so 7 times 4 is 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32. Regroup my 3. 7 times 7 is 49, 50, 51, 52. 7 times 3 is 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26. But we know that it's not going to be 26,222 because I need to move my decimal back into the product twice. So it's 1, 2, and it becomes 262 and 22 hundredths. All right, let's flip this over. In class, we did not have a chance to do, I think we did this one on the partial or the distributive because you were only going to do the first 3. This one was done for you as an example, but you're using the distributive property. And we did the distributive property at the beginning of the year. So I'm going to go ahead and redo this one just in case. I'm going to have the equation 8 times 7 and 6/10. I'm going to break this down the 7 and 6/10 to 7 plus 6/10 times 8. Now I'm going to do the distributive property. I'm going to have 8 times 7 and 8 times 6/10, and then I'm going to add those together. So here it's 8 times 7 plus 8 times 6/10. Order of operations, go to my parentheses and multiplication. 8 times 7 equals 56 plus, I know that I'm going to move this out one time, and I have to think of it this way. If I had 8 groups of 6/10, these are 6/10. So this is going to be, how much would I have? That's going to be quite a bit. So I'm thinking of it this way. I'm going to pull this out here. 8 times 6 equals 48. Because I have only 1/10, one place value, that's going to equal to 4 8/10. I'm only going to move it back one time. Then I'm going to add these. I'm going to go ahead and stack it. 56, remember my decimal is going to be right here. It's always next to the ones place. And I'm going to put 0 as my hero. Then I'm going to place my decimal point in the 4 8/10 right underneath my decimal. To the right, I'm going to place an 8 there. To the left, I'm going to place the 4 because it's in the ones place underneath the 6, which is also in the ones place. Then I'm going to add them up. 0 plus 8 equals 8. I'm going to bring down my decimal. 6 plus 4 equals 10. Regroup. 5 plus 1 equals 6. So then the answer is 60 8/10. Okay. Let's look at this next one. This is going to be 6 times 35 hundredths. Now I'm going to separate this, and this now becomes, I have 3/10 plus I have 5 hundredths. Doesn't that equal to 35 hundredths when I add them up? There you go, I moved it over. So doesn't this equal to 35 hundredths when I add them? Yeah, absolutely. Then I'm going to bring down my multiplication sign and bring down the 6. Now I'm going to distribute. Just put those together. So I have 6 times 3/10 plus 6 times 5 hundredths. And now I'm going to multiply. Got to think of it as moving the decimal out one spot or one decimal place. So 6 times 3 equals 18. I got to move it in only one time. So it's going to be right here. So I have 1 8/10 plus, okay, I have hundredths. So my answer, because I have 2 decimal spots that I'm moving out, and it's going to be 5. So I have hundreds. Therefore, my answer will be in hundreds. So 6 times 5 equals 30, but I need to move it back in twice, and it becomes 30 hundredths. Now I'm going to add those up. So I'm going to have my 1 and 8 tenths. I'm going to put my decimal right here. Got to line up my decimal. To the right, I have a 3 in the tenths and a 0 in the hundredths. This one here, I'm going to put 0 as my hero. And underneath the 1, I'm putting 0 as my hero and add those up. 0 plus 0 equals 0. 8 plus 3 equals 11. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11. And 1 plus 1 equals 2. So it'll be 2 and 10 hundredths or 1/10. This next one, I'm moving it out, and you're just doing standard algorithm. So I'm going to put 2 decimal places. There's 0 on there. So I'm going to think of it as being 842 times 9. It's 18. 9 times 4 equals, there we go. 36 plus 1 equals 37. 9 times 8 is 72, 73, 74, 75. Remember, I had 2 decimal spots. I need to move those back into my product. So it's 1, 2, and the answer is 75 and 78 hundredths. Looking at number 5, moving it out 1, 2 decimal places. I need to move it back in 2 decimal places. I'm going to think of it as being 1,405 times 7. 7 times 5 equals 35. 7 times 0 equals 0 plus 3 more. So what is 0 plus 3? Very good. That's 3. 7 times 4 equals 28. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 2 equals 9. I had already done that in my head. Remember, I'm going to bring in I'm going to move it 2 decimal places then, 1, 2. So it's not 9,835, but it will be 98 and 35 hundredths. Okay. All right, let's look at number 6. So are you getting the hang of it? This is what's really important, is that you're learning the decimals. 1, 2. The rest of the year, we're dealing with decimals, and then we're moving into fractions. So it's super important that you really understand this, and you work on your multiplication facts. I'm going to start testing you on your multiplication facts, so you got to start getting ready. So this is 2 decimal places. I need to put it back moving 2 decimal places back in. In the meantime, it's going to look like it's 2,382 times 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 1 is 41. 5 times 3 is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 equals 11. But it is not 119,010. Remember, I need to move that in, so I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to move it in 1, 2. So it is 119 and 10 tenths. Number 7. I'm moving this out once, 1 decimal place. So I'm going to think of it as being 93 times 4. 4 times 3 equals 12. 4 times 9 equals 36, plus 1 equals 37. Remember, I have to move it back in 1 spot. So then it's going to be 37 and 2 tenths. Let's look at number 3. Is it so hard now? So it's 1 decimal place. I'm going to think of it as being 79 times 3. 3 times 9 equals 27. 3 times 7 is 21, 22, 23. I said I was going to move it out 1 decimal place. I need to move it back in 1 decimal place. So my total is 23 and 7 tenths. Number 9. I'm moving it out 2 decimal places. So I'm going to have to move it back in. So I'm going to think of it as being 4,289 times 5. 5 times 9 equals 45. 5 times 8 equals 40 plus 4 equals 44. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 4 equals 14. 5 times 4 equals 20 plus 1 equals 21. I'm going to move it back into 1, 2, and now it is 214 and 45 hundredths. So looking at number 10, you're going to move it out 1 decimal place. I'm going to think of it as being 26 times 8. 6 times 8 equals 48. 8 times 2 is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I'm moving it back in 1 spot. The answer is 20 and 8 tenths. Okay, let's look at number 11. Remember, you can always pause it, you do the work, and then check your work with me. So at this point, you should go ahead and just put down the 2 decimal places, pause, do your multiplication, and then unpause me to see if you got it right. So I have it as 92 times 6. 6 times 2 equals 12. Regroup. 6 times 9 equals 54 plus 1 equals 55. I move it back in 2. So now it is 5 and 52 hundredths. Okay. You should pause, see if you do it correctly, and then unpause and see if you're right on the number of decimal places. This is 2 decimal places. So this is the same as 104 times 9. 9 times 4 equals 36. 9 times 0 equals 0 plus 3 is 3, because 0 plus 3 equals 3. And 9 times 1 equals 9. I'm moving it twice, 1, 2. So the answer is 9 and 36 hundredths. Number 13, pause it again and then come back and check your work. I'm going to think of it as being 218 times 7. 7 times 8 equals 56. 7 times 1 is 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 7 times 2 is 14, and there's 15, and I'm moving it in 2 decimal spots. So the answer is 15 and 26 hundredths. And 14. Make sure that you pause it and then come back on to see if it's right. Here I have 2 decimal places. I have 1,954 times 3. 3 times 4 equals 12. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 1 equals 16. 9 times 3 is 27 plus 1 is 28. 3 times 1 is 3, 4, 5. So it's not 5,862, but said it was going to move that back in. 1, 2, 58 and 62 hundredths. And there's that one. Okay, let's go to the 2-story problems, and then we are done. For problem 15, a half dollar coin issued by the United States Mint measures 30 and 61 hundredths millimeters. There's my double M across. Mick has 9 half dollars. He lines them up end to end in a row with no gaps or overlaps. What is the total length of the row of half dollars? So I'm just going to draw a picture. Here's 1 half dollar, and they said it was at 30 and 61 hundredths. Here is another half dollar, 30 and 61 hundredths. How many do we need to draw out? Yep, we have to draw 9 of them. 30 and 60/100ths. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just going to add it over here. 8 and 9. Okay, what operation am I going to use? This is sort of almost the same concept that we had today, or we've done in class since the first unit, since we first started school. I have how many groups? I have 9 groups. Tell me that I'm going to have 9 half dollars. So 9 times 30 and 60/100ths. Going to do the same thing. I'm moving it out. So this time, pause it so that you see if you got it right. Do the work and then come back. Go. Okay, I hope you're welcome back. So now I'm at 30 and 60, like 3060 times 9. 9 times 1 equals 9. 9 times 6 equals 54. Here's that 0 again. So 9 times 0 is 0 plus 5 equals 5, because there's that 54. And 9 times 3 equals 27. I'm going to move it back in twice. So then my answer is 275,049 millimeters. Okay. Was that really difficult? No, we're just now multiplying by decimals. But if you are not a sharp facts person, you'll still struggle. So please make sure you're using multiplication chart and you start practicing it. 1 pound of grapes costs $3.49. I think that's about right, or could be a little bit more. But Linda buys 3 pounds of grapes. How much will the grapes cost? Okay, so I have here's 1 pound, and that's at $3.49. Here's another pound, and that's at $3.49. And here's another pound. It's at $3.49. Okay, turn this, put it on pause and work out the problem. And what did you do to solve it? Okay, pause me. All right, welcome back. On here, you can do repeated addition or simply multiply 3 times $3.49. I'm going to go ahead and stack it. I'm going to move this out, or actually, I could have just written it out. I'm going to just do it this way and just ignore that. 9 times 3, or 3 times 9 equals 27. 3 times 4 is 12, 13, 14. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So it actually cost her $10.47 for 3 pounds. Okay, and that was for tonight's homework. Okay, be ready to work tomorrow. Bring your homework tomorrow because we've got to finish up this next unit before we move into division. Have a great night.